Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Back again. Back again. Welcome, everybody, to episode 9 of the Kings of the Sport podcast. Good evening. As always, I'm your host, Darren Williams Jr., and joining me, as always, the West Texas hustler, my man, Michael Anderson. How's it going, Michael?
It's going good, man. It's going good. It doesn't seem like that long since we did the last episode, but I'm glad we got another one going on. It should be an exciting little discussion to be had. Got some really great guests for this little discussion.
Fill us in. Who we got tonight, man?
So we've got Jesse Adams, owner and track runner. Making stuff happen over there at Reading Motorsports track. Man, this guy is I haven't got to meet him a whole bunch. Had a few little discussions with him, but really wanted to have him on the show because he's helping push this nitro class, forward, and offering another avenue for guys to go race at. So I thought, like, hey, man, we need to get him on the show, let him talk about what's going to go on with Cool April Nights. Seems like a really cool dude, man. Like, he's a racer and he's a track owner, and these guys have really put a lot of time, effort, and money into the Reading Dragstrip. So figure we give him a little bit of time, talk about what he's going to be doing, what's coming up, and see what's going on. Got Bryan Hall going to come on with him. Talk a little bit about the March meet, where he ended up, what's going on with that, and then talk about last year racing at the Cool April Nights and how it was. There was some really cool video that came out of that little race scene on that deal. And then to close out the show, we're going to have Jim Young on. He started the Extreme Top Fuel Series. He's been racing these fuel cars like half his life, if not more, or at least been around them. Been trying to get him on for a little while, and finally got him all pinned down. And I really didn't give him an option. I just told him he was going to be on the show. So talk about what's coming up with the series, what's going to be going on, with Bandamere, and kind of how it all started. So yeah, man, it's going to be a good show all the way around.
Oh, man. It's going to be a great show. 3 badasses on tap for tonight's show. And like you said, you mentioned Bryan Hall, Jimmy Young, 2 great badasses in front engine top fuel, 2 great drivers. And also Jesse, a driver himself, but also a track owner. And I respect Jesse so much, and Tony Trimp, his partner, because you think about all the tracks that's not only closing around the country, but closing in California. And for those 2 guys to step up and take over that track and keep it going and keep the history alive, I have so much respect for those 2 guys right there, and happy to have him here on the show here tonight. But before we do that, got to talk about a little bit of news, though. But first, I was, scouring the internet on Facebook, doing a little lurking, and I found this cool picture right here of our old man, Michael Anderson. Got the old school helmet, the goggles. What's up with this, man?
Yeah, so that's the very first car that I ever built. Probably should have never bought the car. It was kind of in shambles. Took me a couple years to get it done. I was still pretty hard in welding pipelines and doing stuff back then. So it was kind of a side project deal. But it's that I think that particular one, I had an injected small block rear Morrison on about 50% of nitro, and I always wanted to wear the mask and the goggles and the helmet, man, and race the car. Yeah, it was I still have the car. It'll end up hanging on the wall, and it was super fun to learn how to drive it.
Man, that is a really cool picture right there. I didn't even know that was still legal. I didn't know you could still do that with the helmet and the goggles.
I'm more one of the people that just show up and ask for forgiveness and permission, kind of deal. And I think they were a little weirded out that it happened, but I was like, we're going to, I knew some of the photographers were going to be there, and I told them, hey man, I'm going to put my stuff on. I think maybe a little later on they come and ask, hey man, you got your other helmet you can put on? And I was like, oh, it's fine, but it was cool. I got some good pictures out of it.
That's awesome. What class were you running in that dragster?
Not anyone. There's so yeah, 8th mile. It's at that time 465 class.
Okay, awesome, man. Yeah. That was a badass picture. Like I said, I was scouring the internet trying to think of some topics for tonight's show, and I seen that picture. I was like, gotta play that on Kings of the Sport. But before we bring on our guests, also got to talk about some news. First up, this past weekend, In-N-Out Burger Pomona Dragstrip, the 63rd annual NHRA Winter Nationals. Our man Corey McClanahan, 34-time top field winner in the NHRA, won Nostalgia Funny Car, Legends Nitro Funny Cars debut out at Pomona. Want to give a big congratulations to our man Corey Mack getting it done in the Mack Attack. Has Glenn Micros over there tuning that race car, got the job done, took down Tim Boychuk in the final round of Nostalgia Funny Car out at the 63rd annual NHRA Winter Nationals from the newly rebranded In-N-Out Burger Pomona Dragstrip. And also, Michael, some other news that was said this past weekend. So I know the Holly Hot Rod Reunion in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and the California Hot Rod Reunion. Well, it's no more. It's now the Wally Parks Nostalgia Nationals. How about that for both Bowling Green and in Bakersfield, Famoso, Bakersfield, California? Big Daddy Don Garlitz will be the Grand Marshal out in Bowling Green, and Don the Snake Berdone will be the Grand Marshal out in Bakersfield. So how about that, Michael?
Man, I think it's a good deal. Whenever the news came out, just kind of reading through what was going on, with what's going on with the reunion deal and kind of how the races have progressed. Really, in my opinion, more into a racing scene than a get together. I love the Cackle cars. Y'all always know that I love the Cackle cars. I don't want them to go anywhere. I definitely want as many as possible to show up. Absolutely. You've got a bunch of new guys in there in the Heritage Series deal. Trying to figure out a way to keep it going and make it grow. So it looks like that they're going to try a little rebranding. Bring in some names for people to come in and see, and get out there and get with the racers. This is something that you're going to hear me talk about a little bit here over the next couple of months, and even I'll bring it up whenever we discuss with Jesse, because I felt like he did something really good as a track owner that I haven't seen, and not a lot of the other guys have seen. Is these people that are promoting these races and these teams like mine or Bryan's or Jimmy's or whatever. We like to see a personal invite to this race, right? Like, I want to, I'm not saying you have to do it. I just like it. I like that that I have a race car team that's going to come to your race and help you promote your race. And what I saw Jesse do with the Cool April Nights is he sent me an individual email inviting me to the race. Like, hey, I know that, you have a car. This is what's going on. And not that I could make it because, everybody knows I got my car tore apart. No, but, it was still really cool to see that happen. And I really want to kind of push that to these other people that are putting on these races. Hey, man, put this stuff out. Invite these teams to go race. Even maybe you might not think they'll come, but you never know, man. You never know. Like, if they know that you wanted to come to this race, then they might change their mind. But thought it was a great deal. Think it's a great deal for these races that are coming up. I think they picked a good year for that, especially with the growth of the class. So yeah, man, it's cool. It's going to be neat to see what happens with it.
Nah, for sure, for sure. I definitely agree with you on that. And then this final bit of news right here from my buddy Dar Harthorn. If you're living in Southern California, or if you're planning on attending Southern California, make sure to stop by the Lions Automobilia Foundation, as they have expanded their hours. They're now open Wednesday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. And also for admission, adults are $20, seniors, military, and youth are $15, and ages 4 to 17. Excuse me. Seniors, military, and youth from ages 4 to 17 are $15, and children under 4 are free. So, like I said, if you're in the LA area, if you live in LA, or if you're planning on coming down to LA, make sure to stop by the Lions Automobilia Foundation. And also, some cool cars are on loan right now, so you don't want to miss it. Big John Mazmanian Candy Apple 1941 Willys is actually on display, and then the iconic metallic blue Stonewoods and Cooks Swindler 2 car is on loan as well. So make sure to stop by the Lions Automobilia Foundation and check it out, and don't miss it. It's a great deal, a great museum. I've been there a few times, and definitely a sight to see.
Yeah, I got to get out there and check that out. I think how far is that from the Nitro Revival whenever they have that? Is it very far?
So Rancho Dominguez, I would say, is kind of Harbor City, bordering Long Beach, kind of that area, which is about 20 minutes from me in Inglewood. So for me to Irwindale, that'll be about 45 minutes. So
Okay, yeah,
so the same distance. Yeah, not that far.
Yeah, so I mean, if I come in to watch the Revival, then I can get on over there and watch it. Go check out the Lions deal for sure. I want to do that,
Yeah.
and I do want to say this too is I watched the Legends of Nitro, the segment that they did on them, on the Big Show deal. Man, it was killer. It was cool to watch, man. It was cool to see those cars out there, man. You got to tell those guys, hey, appreciate y'all for putting them out there. It's a really cool deal to see those cars up there. But dude, J.R. Todd's explosion. One thing about Forrest, okay, whatever. But the J.R. Todd's explosion was crazy, man.
I saw it.
That's $100,000 weekend right now. This boom in bodies right there, gone.
Dude, so I'm hanging. So I'm out there at Pomona. My dad, his friend, and my cousin are all there. I meet him in the stands, right? Because I'm usually in the tower typing up stuff and trying to get results out and stuff like that for Comp Plus. Well, I'm hanging in the stands with my family. my contacts, I wear contacts, they're like messing up for some reason. And so when you look into the sun, it makes it even worse. So John and JR go down on through there. Nothing, it's normal, right? I turned back away from the sun just to kind of, because like I said, my contacts are messing up. I heard the whole crowd go, oh, in a commotion. I look up on the big screen. Force is on JR Todd's ass like it's a NASCAR race. And I'm like, what the heck's
What
going
just
on?
happened?
What the heck going on? All of a sudden, Force is in the wall. I'm like, and then you come back Sunday, JR Todd going to be in, Big Jim Dunn. How about him in the Moon Eyes car? How cool is that? And then JR Todd blows it to smithereens. It's all calamity. I mean, Pomona was crazy.
Yeah, it looked like a really cool deal. How was the crowd there? Was it a pretty good crowd? It seemed like it was a good crowd.
So obviously, Gainesville was a sellout. Phoenix was a sellout. Pomona wasn't a sellout, but you got to take in consideration that those stands at Pomona are huge. From the starting line to the finish, they have stands from the starting line to the finish line. It's very high. So you take that crowd that was there on Saturday and you put it in Phoenix, it's basically a sellout crowd. So it wasn't a sellout for Pomona, but still a great crowd. Saturday and Sunday, I would say.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. All right, man. Yeah, I know we got a schedule to stick on. You got stuff to do tonight. So, and me and you start talking, and then all of a sudden it's an hour later we ain't even got anybody on. So I know we got to move forward.
Well, before we do that, though, I want to thank everybody who's tuning in tonight. We have a lot of people tuning in, so I really do appreciate that. Episode 9 of Kings of the Sport. If you haven't already, make sure to like this show and share this show and let everybody know, hey, we're talking front engine, top fuel dragster, and everything nitro here on Kings of the Sport. We got Jesse Adams, track owner of Reading Motorsports Park, aka Reading Dragstrip, and we got two badasses, Jimmy Young and Bryan Hall, coming up in just a little bit. Dar Harthorn, he was out of Pomona. He says we'll be open on the Friday of Nitro Revival for all you Texans, Denise Coasters, and Lions Automobilia. And so a great article, what I just mentioned, I'll be writing an article for that as well. Just haven't been able to get around to it. Cole says took 25 minutes to get to the museum from the revival. So 25 minutes. There you go.
Awesome.
Gary Wheeler says, evening, Darren in Hollywood. What's up, Gary? Thanks for tuning in.
We got to talk about him a little bit. They got their new Nitro Chaos car out at Tulsa this weekend and got it tested up. I think he made 4 or 5 hits. Nice. So congrats to them for getting another car out there. So there's another fuel car to be raced right there. So exciting stuff to see what's going to happen with them on that deal.
Adam Sorokin, Mike is putting a small block Chevy in his car. How about that?
No, they're putting the Hemi in that car. I started that rumor on the internet. Oh my, this Buddy Hall.
Michael Anderson for president. And then Jesse Gutierrez says, you forgot about the little guys already. I haven't forgot about you, Jesse, man. I'm your biggest fan. I love you guys. Jesse and AJ, great guys out there running Junior Fuel out in the Heritage Series. Luke says, Kings of the Sport.
So Luke is 18 years old, 19 years old. Got to race in his first TDRA race this past weekend at Ennis at Funny Car Chaos. Super excited for him, man. Cool dude. They're from Plainview, Texas, just north of me about 2 hours. Yeah, great family. Total racing family ate up with it.
Okay, hold on. I forgot to mention. So I know we have our guests to get to, but like I said, when we get to talking, we don't stop. I heard through the grapevine, through a buddy of mine's, that you were at Funny Car Chaos racing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. I talked to that Monday morning racer, man. Lee Crab, man. We were out there BSing, but yeah, I took my red car out there. I hadn't raced it in 2 years, and shook it down because my son's going to probably start running that car here once he gets done with track. So I wanted to make sure it still went straight. It does.
All right, final comment before I get out of here. Where's it at, real quick? Let me bring up this last comment because I noticed it out in Pomona too. And Drag Racing Central says, are we going to talk about how Jason Logan stole your fax machine joke in Pomona? So they used the fax machine on NHRA.tv. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
No freaking way, dude. They did. I love it. Whatever gets it out there, that's awesome. That's cool, though.
All right, we're done babbling. Michael, you ready to get into our first guest?
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jesse Adams is next.
If you own a beautiful modern muscle car like this 1320 Challenger, I'm sure you don't want it stolen. Because the Challenger and many other modern vehicles have an easily accessible neutral release strap. That was your coin holder in your central console, and beneath that there's this red cord that someone can pop, put it into neutral, and potentially easily steal your car. But at destroyer1320.com, they have the TDS theft deterrent system, which is a cover over that strap using factory mounting points so that you don't get popped by a thief. So make sure to go to destroyer1320.com using promo code MMR for 15% off and get your theft deterrent system TDS and steal the thieves' hope.
Jesse, how's it going, man?
Going good. How about you guys?
Going good, man. Going good. So obviously, thank you for taking your time out to coming onto Kings of the Sport here today. And like we just mentioned, everything you've done for drag racing is so great, and especially for the California area and tracks like that. Obviously, we're here tonight to promote cool April drags, cool April nights. So, first off, just fill us in about that whole event right there. Obviously it's coming up and just everything it has to offer and, what fans can expect.
So the track is the longest operating NHRA sanctioned track that there is. So when we took it over last year, Cool April Nights is always the biggest event of Reading Dragstrip annually. And when we took it over, we did all new concrete surface, new shutdown area, acres of new asphalt pit areas and stuff. So we really want to make it big. And nitro cars back in the 60s when they ran at Reading, everybody had a nitro car out there. And it was really the layout of the track and everything is pretty amazing. When you get some of the old timers out there and they show you where the pits were and where they ran down the return road and turned around, it was like, that's what this city needs, is we need to bring nitro back into town. And we know how it is as far as nitro races go. Sac Raceway now has early curfews, so they don't get a lot of nitro cars. And there's really 2 or 3 places a year to race them. And we really want to try to focus on letting the nitro cars come out and put on a show again like they used to. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And so I got to ask too, because I live in Southern California, and for me, people my age, we don't know anything past San Francisco. So where exactly is Reading, California located?
So it's about 2.5 hours south of the Oregon border or 2.5 hours north of Sacramento. So it's right in between Sacramento and the Oregon border, right on the I-5 corridor. So it's a super easy place to get to. As you're taking up I-5 north, get off by the airport, take like 8 minutes off the freeways where the racetrack is. And we're on airport property. Last year we ran nitro cars. Bryan ran the semifinal at like 1:45 in the morning. And we ended up having to finish the final later. It's not that we couldn't have run them, but there was no reason to make them turn around. The crowds kind of started pulling out of there around 1 o'clock. But we have no curfew there because we're on airport property. There's jets coming in 24 hours a day. That makes it really, really nice. So the fact that we're able to run late at night, Reading gets really hot in the summertime. I think last year, 2022, I think the highest temp was like 118 degrees one day throughout the entire year. So when it comes to summertime racing, we got to race at night. We like to start 8, 9 p.m., go till 1, 2 in the morning, and to be able to run nitro cars at 11, 12 at night, that's fun running nitro under the lights. That's just the way it should be. And we have the ability and the luxury to do that still.
Awesome. That's badass.
Yeah, so going back to last year and seeing what videos kind of came out, with Hall and the Air Force car and some of the funny cars and stuff, man, it looked killer. Like, I mean, the videos that were coming out at the track, everybody was like, oh, what, kind of like what's going on there. So, going into this year with the Cool April Nights deal and what y'all are doing with the track, what have y'all done to the track to make it a better track than what it was beforehand?
So as we've put time on it and had a lot more cars down it, we're starting to get a good rubber base built up. But at the same time, we still know that there's some concrete maintenance that we need to do. So I've been talking to Brandon Mass at Mass Traction. He's been giving me some pointers and doing some consulting work on what I can do to actually improve the concrete even more to get that first layer of rubber really bonded to it. Then you can scrape everything off the top and put another layer on that. And it's a maintenance thing. You don't want a racetrack with a 1/4 inch of rubber, but you don't want bare concrete either. So we're working on maintaining the concrete. I'm going to go out next week and actually do some texture grinding on the starting line, trying to get to at least 100 feet in both lanes. So the hardest part about it is we've had a lot of rain right now. So the moisture content and the way the air is and the temperature really affects the way the rubber sticks to that concrete. So right now, the conditions have to be really, really good. And when they're really good, the track is absolutely killer. I mean, they fly. And Bryan went in September last year. He went his quickest 8th mile ET and 8th mile per hour ever in a front engine car. So it's just all about really adapting, though. We can't lie to ourselves and pretend that everything's always perfect. It's a matter of, if you own a racetrack, you need to be honest with your customers and say, look, the concrete's still pretty new, but we're working on it continuously, week in and week out, and it continues to get better and better and better. We've got door cars that don't advertise what they run, but if I don't mention the category, it's not a big deal. We got door cars dipping into the 3-second range at the 8th mile there at Reading. And like I said, it's still new concrete. We actually had a lot of sponsors chip in and help us out, and we've got a rotator now. So I went to Bandamere and bought from the Traction Twins, bought a rotator last year. So our drag tractor was decent, but not great. We decided to go all in and just buy the baddest equipment we could. So we got this brand new rotator. We got a great tractor for it now. So, it's a matter of just continuously moving forward week after week after week to make it better as we go.
And I think that's awesome. Everything you guys are doing to, to improve the facility and make it bigger and keep this track around. I want to ask, with all the improvements you're making, is the goal to one day make this an event to where you guys can run on the Heritage Series and make this a go-to where the Nitro funny cars and the top field dragsters come and run for points? Because wait,
so
do you guys
year,
run?
Go ahead.
Do you guys run 8th mile or full quarter mile?
It's a quarter mile track. We ran the Nitro cars last year, 1,000 foot. Our concrete was done. Actually, you know what? It's funny. I saw it on Facebook today. 1 year ago to the day was the very first burnouts done on the new concrete. And our photographer, Heather Nichols, I had her up in a lift behind the starting line. And both cars, as they did their burnouts, have black streaks behind them, big cloud of smoke, and brand new pure concrete in front of them. It's like the coolest picture I've almost ever seen in drag racing taken today. And that was 1 year ago today. So I kind of lost my train of thought there. But okay, getting back to the point series and stuff. It's quarter mile track. We ran Nitro at 1,000 feet just because, without doing any points racing and it being a fun Nitro race, we put a pretty decent purse together. And I got another funny story about the WW2 car. So he came out and he'd never seen anybody split money before, right? So we told them what the purse was and said, you guys can do whatever you want. This is how much is available this round. How do you guys want to split it up? And some of the old timers, I bracket race. I'm a hardcore bracket racer. And we get told, hey, there's 30 grand going into 4 cars. What do you want to do with it? And we'll say, well, let's do 10,000 to lose this round and we'll send the rest to the final or whatever. They had never seen anything like that before. And they said, well, NHRA doesn't do that. NHRA doesn't do this. And they don't do this. It doesn't matter. We're here to have fun. We're having a good time. So this is what's available. You guys can do it however you want. And we ran funny cars against dragsters. We just put anything Nitro down the racetrack side by side with them. And ultimately, the A fuel car without a supercharger is who won. We race a lot of 8th mile stuff, especially our bracket program, our nostalgia program. As far as anyone, any two, we have a really great sponsor named Technical Steel that comes in, and we have a real steel nostalgia class for some of our feature track events. So we actually combine what would be A gas, B gas, and C gas with any one, any two, and any three. So the door cars are racing against the dragsters and the altereds. What it does is it allows you to have 3 categories instead of 6. When you have 3 instead of 6, car count's higher, the payouts are higher, everything about it. So when you show up to the racetrack, you're not necessarily going to race against 5 or 10 or 10 other cars. You might race against 16, or we might have a field of 22 cars. Because when you combine those and you don't water it down by separating all these categories, it makes it really good, especially on a little feature level stuff. Now, this year is the first year the Heritage Series is actually going to add a race to the schedule. First year in a long time, I should say. And Heritage Series races coming to Reading Dragstrip. We're going to have groups 1 and 2, but no Nitro. So we actually were supposed to have this race last weekend, and it rained. So we moved it to June, and it's going to be good. So for the Heritage Series to reach out to us and branch out and add a points race to their schedule is really, really big, because it's tough. 2 races at Sacramento and 2 races at Bakersfield is all they were doing for points races. And then you guys know how Nitro goes with Boise and then Bowling Green and 2 races at Bakersfield. It's not enough. And for us to be able to put another race on the schedule is really big for the racers, and it's big for us. The town of Reading embraces car culture like you would not believe. Cool April Drags brings people in from the entire West Coast. It's a week-long car show event followed by a street legal at the racetrack and 2 days of racing to close out the entire week-long citywide car show. So it's a blast, and it's really big for the city. And we've even got the Shasta Roadsters, who started Reading Dragstrip as an airstrip track and turned it into a drag strip. We've got like some of the founding members coming out for that event, and we're going to kind of salute them as we bring the Heritage Series into Reading.
And that was kind of like my next question, because I've seen two different names. I've seen Cool April Nights and then Cool April Drags. So the Cool April Nights is kind of like the festival leading up to the Cool April Drags, which closes out that Saturday night, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So
and I see like you guys have like a cool movie type deal too. Like you guys will be playing Grease, I think, one night.
We got a deal coming up in the summertime. Yeah, we're going to try to do like a movie thing in the park, and we're trying to do a Cars and Guitars car show. So everything we do at the track under our track stuff is supposed to be automotive themed. We don't necessarily have to drag race, but it has to be automotive themed based on just some background stuff that goes on. So we do this Cars and Guitars concert later on. It's going to be a car show with we'll have the Burnout Pit going. I'm really hoping to bring in one of my drift crews, and I want them to be doing donuts around the stage while the concert's playing. And just stuff like that is what is kind of brings it back to being fun again, you know?
Yeah.
And see, Darren, this is what I was talking about. Like, you know, if this doesn't get out there, you know, what's going on with these fellas and what they're doing. I mean, can you imagine? Like, you know, people are just be like, they see it later on. They need to know about it now. Like, we got to get it out there now, because these guys that do stuff like this are few and far between anymore.
Yeah.
And for them to go through all this, you know, time and expense and everything to make, you know, car culture come back the way that it needs to be. I was like, man, we got to get these dudes on the show, man, because it's just killer to watch them, you know, support what's going on with us. So, you know, all the way around. And like you said, you know, adding that heritage deal to there was a huge deal. And then, you know, and then having these nitro races, you know, there's nothing up there, you know, like that anymore. So it's super cool. I love hearing about it. I want to be there. Hell, I told Bryan I said, I'll fly in and I'll drive your 34 to the track so we can go drive around town while you're racing. And he goes, how about you drive the rig and I'll drive my 34? And I was like, that ain't cool, man. So
one of the other things that we did, and it just kind of comes into making the whole thing cool again, is, you know what it's like, you go to, and ours is a small facility, but you know what it's like, you go to a racetrack and nitro cars or any cars whatsoever, you have oil downs and you have track prep and you have time where there's downtime. Sometimes there's too much downtime. Well, we ended up putting this 240-foot by 80-foot burnout pit between the left lane guardrail and the grandstands. And I'll hire in a pro drift team. They got 3 cars. I got a couple of them. They got 3 cars each though. And so while we're running, if there's an oil down or track prep or something, we'll clear people out of that area, bring these 3 drift cars in, and you see more cell phones out taking video while these guys are entertaining the crowd. Because, you know, you want to make sure your crowd is entertained and they have a good time. You get their money at the gate. You want them to buy a beer and a burger and fries and a T-shirt. But if you can't entertain them consistently throughout a 6-hour, 7-hour event, they'll get tired of it and they'll get fed up and leave. And if they don't like what they didn't see, if they just saw tractors racing up and down all day, cleaning up, they're going to leave and they're not going to come back. As soon as we have an oil down or we have something going on to where the drag racing stops, we bring people in the drift pit, we keep them entertained. They can't wait to see it again. And then as soon as the drift guys are done, we'll tell them, you give like a 5-minute warning. They'll all run, grab another beer, grab another burger, get back in the stands and watch drag racing again. And we can do that all night long. And it really helps keep the event flowing and not having people complain about downtime. And I'm not complaining about them complaining. I've been doing this this is my entire life. Drag racing is. So I know what it's like to hate downtime, right? Mm-hmm. And to keep those people entertained and make sure they get their money's worth when they come through our gate. That's our goal.
Outstanding.
This is a great track owner / track promoter right here. This dude knows what he's doing. And Mike Taylor agrees. He says this guy needs to buy Route 66 and Joliet.
Yeah. Well, and here's another thing that, you know, I wanted to bring up, and I brought it up a little bit earlier, is, you know, y'all as a track and as a promoter, sending me an email inviting me to y'all's race, man, I want to tell you thanks for doing that. Sure. I've messaged and kind of talked a little bit about it, but I really felt like as a team owner, you know, in what's going on right now with us trying to get to these races, to have a track actually reach out to me and send an email to invite me and lay out really what was going to happen. A lot of times we can go to these races and we don't even really know what's shaking unless we're pulling teeth to try to figure it out. So, you know, the email that they sent was, you know, hey, man, we'd really like for you to come to the race, you know, kind of laid it all out, said what the payout was going to be, kind of what the schedule. I was like, man, this is just, you know, I really wanted to have my car ready. Like, if I wasn't doing what I was going to do, I was actually going to leave it at Bryan's house so I could go race it, the damn rating deal. But, you know, things changed. But I just want to tell you thanks. And I know a lot of the other teams, you know, appreciated it too.
Well, that's cool. So last year, when we were starting to promote this particular Cool April Drags, I reached out to a lot of the Nitro people that I know personally. I went down to the March meet. Tony was racing at the March meet. Tony Trimp is my business partner on Reading Motorsports Park. So we went down to the March meet. We went trailer to trailer with the A-Fuel and the Nitro guys, and that went really well. And then this year, kind of almost at the last minute, I guess I had about a month and a half lead into it, but I got a phone call inviting me to go to Australia for No Prep Kings to help one of the No Prep Kings guys race. Street Outlaws just did USA versus Australia. And I couldn't pass it up. So I went, and I kind of missed a little bit of the marketing and the promo stuff this year. But the good thing is my social media following is really big. So the stuff that I do, it's always promoting the racetrack or our events or my personal events or what I'm doing. So there's always a buzz. And then Tony got those emails out this go around. And yeah, it's perfect. You know, we work really well together. It's just a matter of making sure that people know that we're putting races on. And to give you guys an idea of the structure of the race, there isn't a lot of structure other than we want people to come make 2 runs on Friday. And then we want to do an 8-car show. If we have 12 cars, 4 of them can make another exhibition pass. But we want to put a purse together and say, look, you guys can race for this purse however you want. You can split it how you want. You can all we care is you make good, clean passes in front of the fans. And if you want to race for the trophy and you want to race hard and burn stuff up doing it, go ahead. If you just want to run side by side 2-3 tenths slower than you need to, do that too. Just put on a show for the fans. I don't care which way you guys do it. You guys kind of can run the event yourselves. We'll give you time slots. Just come out and do what you want to do. Go down the racetrack and burn some nitro. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. And it seems like this event, you know, obviously you want to win, but this event seems like it's all about fun. Just have fun, you know, bring your car to the racetrack and let's do it. I want to hear more about your time down in Australia in just a little bit, but I want to bring on Bryan Hall in just a little bit. So we're going to take a quick break, and up next, Bryan Hall. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Bryan Hall. How's it going, Bryan? Cool background, man.
Guys. What's happening?
Everything's going good, but man, first I got to ask you, obviously we're talking about Cool April Nights, Cool April Drags. You raced there last year. Tell us about your experience there out of Reading Dragstrip last year in 2022.
Yeah, so you know, we watched Jesse and Tony and those guys post a bunch about them putting a new concrete surface down, and I got a call and said, hey, you want to bring your dragster out and run a fuel car down there? And of course, you know, anything for me that's local is way better than driving halfway across the country. And, you know, I'm in always, you know, Sacramento, Jesse and Tony had a lot to do with that track. And I would always, you know, I was always begging to run my car out there for a little bit of match race money. And they said, hey, we actually want to run a real race, not just a match race. And I'm 100% on that. I like a ladder, or at least, you know, having a competition where you can get eliminated. I think it's better to run, you know, I want to try and win an event. I don't want to just go out and get paid to run my car. So, you know, they put this brand new track down there, and at first is like a little bit kind of scary, you know, it's a brand new green racetrack. And, you know, we didn't really turn it down too much. And to my surprise, I stepped on the gas and it got a little loose. About 300 feet, you know, no different than Bakersfield lately, actually. It was just as good as a track as I had at the March meet this year. So I was really impressed with that. The fans, I don't know if I've told Michael this and a lot of my friends, the fans at Reading are kind of like a little bit more like Boise. They're just fans of race cars. They're not professional fans. They haven't been doing this their whole life. They don't come by your pit and tell you how they did it in the 60s or what you should be doing. These guys back their trucks up to the edge of the fence, drink beer, and hoot and holler at you, whether you're in a 10-second car or you're in a top fuel dragster. These fans are just stoked. You know, they've been all week long going to the car shows. There's nothing like it at that track. You know,
Well,
it's
when
like
you come down the return road at Reading, just towards the starting line, just past the quarter mile is where the tailgating starts. So the return road is along the fence the entire way, all the way into the pits. So you are literally, you can reach out and give high fives to people for almost a whole quarter mile on the
Yeah.
return road. And they're so loud and they're rowdy, and they're rowdy in a good way, but it's fun. They love it.
you know, they did that at Bakersfield this year, and Blake said, you know, we're pulling up, and he said, hey, when you get down there, turn around and come back in front of the grandstands. And I told Blake, I said, it's about damn time you did
Right.
that. And he kind of laughed at me. I said, man, that's, as a driver, all the glory is on the starting line. You know, I make the run, I go down the track, and I make a good run. I'm standing there for 8 minutes wondering if I even made a good run, or I have no idea. You know, in qualifying, you might make a good run. You don't even know until you get a thumbs up from your crew, and then everybody, you know, we celebrate. But getting to, you know, roll past us, and at Reading, it's even crazier because they're really, really close. And on the spectator side, the grandstands are probably the closest grandstands I've ever seen in my life. You can feel, you know, sometimes I'll just go sit in the stands over there. You know, before Jesse took over, I went and just kind of spectated a few times. And I sat in that spectator side grandstands. I guess it's spectator, right side the track.
Yeah,
It's on the, I mean, it's feet from the racetrack. It's as old school as it gets. And I think this is the kind of track that our kind of cars should be at. You know, you take 16 cars and you put it at St. Louis. I'm not knocking that track, but that's a big show facility. And you put 4,000 people there, it looks like the stands are empty, just like Pomona. You know, they used to run good guys races at Sonoma, and the place, I mean, there would be as many people as a March meet at Sonoma, and the place would look empty. It just is our kind of cars belong at a place like Reading, I think.
No, I agree, and
we
I
couldn't
feel
fit
like
any more in last year. We had like 6,000 people, and it's tough because we were running out. We were so out of room, but at the same time, it was just fun that way. You know, the cops come out.
That's one of those good problems to have.
RPD comes out after the cruise on Saturday night, and they said, "Guys, it is full. We have never seen it this full." And I said, "Everybody's being good, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, but it is full." But they just loved it. Even the RPD and you know, the police department, the fire department, they all support what we got going on out there, and they come out and have a good time, and nobody causes trouble. And it's a blast. But it is as packed as you can find a racetrack. I tell you, it doesn't mean we've got 20,000 fans, but to fit 6,000 of them in the space that we do, feels like you're at a rock concert.
Yeah. And, you know, running that event, I had a blast running against the funny cars. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. There ain't nothing better than beating up on a funny car. We were talking about Corey Mack earlier. Me and him ran identical ETs, and I got him on a whole shot at that event. And
so a moment ago, Brian, you slightly contradicted what I said right when I came on. Like, we don't have a very tight structure because it's more of a race for fun. However, we put a good purse together, and we said, you guys are racing for it. I don't care if you're in a funny car or a dragster, you're racing for this. What you guys want to do with the money, you can. Like, and it just worked out really well. But once you got beat, you were out. You know, it wasn't just match racing or Chicago style stuff. You had to race to get there. Yeah,
for sure. And, you know, teams like Jim Murphy, like you were saying, they were just baffled at what was going on. You know, I realized last year was your guys' first real big event, and there were some challenges that happened, and Jim Murphy and me and McLennan, and then who is it, Bates. They were all just like, well, whatever we got to do to make this happen, we'll do it. I mean, we did a chip draw at the beginning, and I tried to call Corey Mack out just because I wanted to race against some big show guy, and try to beat him. And it just so happens I drew him in the chip draw, which was awesome, and ended up getting the win on that. But yeah, I want kind of a laddered event. I don't want to just get paid to make runs. I want there to be, I want to make a run and get rewarded for winning. I don't want to just get paid to make runs. If I want to go do a test session, I'll go do a test session. But I want to, I don't care really about the money. I want to win an event. And at that event.
The reason I still back the chip draw is it randomizes it a little bit. It doesn't just put the top guy against the slowest guy. We're all out there to have a good time. And you got a couple slow, Dave Smith doesn't run his nitro car very often anymore at all. I don't know if he'll ever run it again. But it randomizes it just a little bit, and you still have to win the round. And so that's what's kind of fun. But you might have the two top dogs racing each other first round because they just drew the right chips. I think it's a pretty fun way to do an event like that. Of course, if you're racing for points, you're going to qualify and put them on a ladder. But
right.
I enjoy doing it the way we did it, as long as you guys are racing to win.
Yeah, if it comes down to where we, there's a little bit of weather or something and we can't have qualifying, I think everybody's pretty much good with it as long as we're, on race day, we're racing, to win.
Yeah.
And the chip draw was awesome. I had a great time. I was piping off like I was on the Street Outlaws or something. I don't know.
So, but what happened in the semis?
Semifinals, I can't remember.
Okay, so you raced Murphy and Bates sat it out, I think.
That's right. I actually beat Jim Murphy in the semifinals, and he got up, out in the shutdown area.
He got on one wheel and stuck a cone in the injector.
Yeah, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm not going to talk too much crap about the funny car guys, but a lot of those guys kind of got like bummed because they're so used to heritage scheduling and all that kind of stuff, and they kind of packed it up. And there was some stuff that happened, just new race blues a little bit, and some oil downs and some things happened, and then we got called in a little late, and Jim Murphy's got his car in the staging lanes, and I walked up to him. I go, "Hey Jim, did it pass your bedtime?" And he's like, "That's about 2.5 hours past my bedtime." I'm like, "Look at you. He's such a badass." Him and Daniel pulled their car out there and ran it at 1 o'clock in the morning against us. And luckily I got the win. And it felt like a big deal that night. It was pretty cool to run in front of the fans. And then, we ended up having to run the event later. Me and Bates split the money, which was awesome because we like to get paid right away. And then Jesse invited us back to like run it off in September. And I got my ass handed to me by an A-fuel car.
Not any A-fuel car. That ain't any A-fuel car. That's the baddest A-fuel car in the nation.
Yeah, well, before that, we went out and got to get a test hit at the track. And he paid us to come back out, which was even cooler. We got to go back out. We got paid to make a couple more runs. And
so they split the winner and runner-up purse in April at Cool April Drags. They split it and didn't run the final. And then we paid both of them to come back and run the final round at another date.
Yeah, then they paid us match race money to come back and settle it, which was awesome. And I got a free hit at the track. And I don't know if it was Big Dan on the dragger, but that track, I haven't ran on a track like that in a long time. We made the run, we get to the top end, and the guys come pick me up. And for some reason, it didn't come up on the scoreboard or something happened during testing. And we're towing back and we're all guessing what it was going to run. And I think Cole said, "I don't even think it ran in the threes." And I said, "Nah, I think it ran like maybe 399. And we get the time slip and it was like 381, 209, but it was so smooth that it felt slow. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it felt slow because it was smooth. And we got the time slip. We're like, this has got to be wrong. And then, Bates and those guys seemed a little nervous. And I went out there and just shook the crap out of it and drove toward guardrail and had to lift and got to watch them drive away from me and lost the title. But I'm hoping to go back this year and change that.
There was great video of that run, though. There was nothing wrong with the timing system. You just hauled ass.
Yeah. No, I looked at the race back when we got back, and that's my baseline now for that run at that track in September is my baseline for every other run. I don't have a drive shaft graph that's smoother than that run at that track last year. And that was a whole year ago. I mean, 8 months ago at least, right? And now you guys have the rotator and things have only gotten better since. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, call outs, chip draws, I'm all for. But just going to you, Bryan, you talk about racing there last year and at night and everything like that. There's an iconic photo from you where you're taking off on a starting line and there's sparks coming off from the back of your car from I think it's the wheelie bar. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a great photo. I love that.
Yeah, that's a Kurt Borden photo, and he takes
Okay.
great pictures. And I don't have a clutch filter on my car. Don't tell the NHRA tech department about that. But it shoots sparks straight out the bottom of the can every run. And yeah, Kurt stood right behind the car and got these big header flames. And at night, and I agree. I think fuel cars should be exclusively run at night. If somebody who's not,
hey, I'm with you.
I mean, fuel cars, our motorsport is the only thing that has those kind of header flames besides a couple of nitrous cars and some street outlaw kind of deal. But I mean, if you're shooting 4-foot header flames out, you need to take advantage of that. We should be running at night. I think almost exclusively, aside from some of the guys being, past their bedtime. Other than that, I think it's a great idea.
But you remember, Bryan, like the days of the Governor's Cup and the Fox Hunt and Funny Car Fever at Sacramento, like we're talking 15, 18, 20 years ago. We used to run till 11, 12, 1 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
And those were when John Hale would come out and Leah would come out. And the big nitro shows at Sacramento were always done late at night. And it was a blast. But unfortunately, that part of California is just not allowing that to happen anymore. And they basically have to shut down by 9 p.m., even on a Friday and a Saturday. And that's where like we really do benefit by being at the airport and not having the curfew. Is it brings a fun back in it. And I know guys aren't used to racing that late anymore, but I mean, we're going to try to make them get used to it.
Yeah. So both of us, me and you both grew up at Sacramento Raceway. I think some of my first memories are hanging out under those grandstands and the old days of, Torkelson and Riolo and Bunker, that's almost the same feeling I get at Reading now. And I think like Reading to me now feels like Sacramento did in the 80s. It kind of has the same vibe. It has the same kind of spectator, excitement. I don't know what it is. It's something special about that place. And I'm really glad you guys took it over. I ran an 860 car there a couple years ago. And there was a bump so hard in that track that I hit my head on the cage and about knocked me out. To where every run after that, I used to have to duck at half track. I would duck, wait for the bump, and then look back up. And
the old concrete to asphalt transition at Reading was pretty gnarly. And when we looked at doing some demo work and cutting some stuff out and putting some areas back in place, and knowing that the way, I'll get a little bit technical here with you, but not too bad. But once you demo that concrete or that asphalt and you get down to dirt or rock and you put base in it, you pack it, your compaction is never as good as the surface that has been sitting there for 40 plus years. So
Right.
We actually had a guy from the Cement Institute, the Cal Nevada Cement Institute, come out, and he did some checking and he did some calcs and he ran some stuff. It was like, look, it's going to cost you guys a couple $100,000 to demo this. We can just put 4 inches of concrete over the top of all of your existing surface. And they came up with a really good mixed design. It's got 2 types of fiber in it. Certain parts of it, depending on what the underlayer was, has a felt underlayment. And we took concrete K-rail, put them on the edge of the asphalt, because it used to be an Armco track. The whole entire track is all Armco. So we put concrete K-rail way past the finish line, all the way from the burnout boxes past the finish line. And we poured 1,500 feet of concrete. And after the concrete's got like 500 feet of new, fresh asphalt that transitions from that 4 inches down to 0. And it's just something that we were able to do it actually on a pretty decent budget, but it took out all of the settling factor and that with compaction and got rid of that. That was a pretty bad bump. I know the one you're talking about, because I'd run my dragster there a handful of times and it was like, wow, even my suspended dragster that goes, 460s would get unsettled there.
Yeah, and it was like I don't know, it's kind of like Tulsa last year. There was a bump there at Tulsa that is just bad. And, I didn't want to run a fuel car. I always wanted to run a fuel car at Reading because I thought it's kind of the place to be, for the looks and the kind of, we're trying to run a nostalgia dragster, we're running a front engine top fuel car. It should kind of seem like a nostalgia track, and it's got the look, but now the surface is so smooth that, like I said, it's the smoothest drive shaft graph I have in any of my logs. Really pumped that you guys took it over. You guys get it. You and Tony both. You drove a fuel funny car. I don't know if Darren knows that, but you drove a fuel funny car. You've been on both sides. Tony's on both sides all the time. He's still driving 7.0 Pro. Really happy you guys took it over, and I'm looking forward to running.
I did actually go. There's YouTube video. I did actually go in Machine Gun Kelly, the 7.0 Pro car, like 686 at 202 or something at Reading, quarter mile in 2012.
With the bump.
And it wasn't quite as bad then. So from 2012 to 2022, when we took over, like that last 5 years, and by nobody's fault, you couldn't do anything to fix it. It was just the way things deteriorate. You know what I mean?
You had to spend $300,000 to fix that bump.
So it's not pointing a finger at the previous track owners or anything. It's just the way things deteriorate. 2012, it was there. In 2020, it was really there. Now it's not. And we have our little imperfections. I know where the imperfections on the racetrack are right now. Every racetrack's got them. Every racetrack's different. There's always something to work around. I mean, if it was perfect, we could just run slot cars and not worry about burning parts up. But, so we're going to do everything we can, though, to continue making it better.
That's awesome. And this is what some of the stuff that I felt like needed to get out there to talk about this track and what all was going on, because, it's kind of like, I don't want to say this underground deal, but this track is way more than what people talk about. I think what they perceived previously, like what they're talking about, is that, but this track is nothing like that. I went back through his Facebook deal and just was kind of looking at the page and what all's gone on over the past year. And I'm in the construction business, man. I know what it takes to do stuff like that. And I was like, this track it's legit for sure.
We just totally rebuilt the snack bar, like other stuff too. It is about the racing. It is about the pits, but we just rebuilt the snack bar and it's bigger. It's going to be better. Less lines. We're going to have QR codes. People can order their food while they're sitting in the grandstands, walk down, pick it up and go back, just try to speed it up. But I don't want anybody also to think that this is like a corporate operation. This is a family owned. Buddies own this place. We own the place. We run it. We operate it. We got a great staff on board, but it's not like some corporate deal. We're just trying to streamline it and make sure when the fans come in the gate, they get their money's worth, because that's what they need. And our prices, some people complain about the prices at this event or that event or whatever. We've got some where it's $10 to get in the gate. We got some where it's $50 to get in the gate. It all depends on what we're running and how we have to prep it. We adapt week in and week out just to make sure that we can cover our bases across the board.
Awesome.
Nah, and like I said, Jesse, I want to thank you for everything you and your partner Tony Tripp has done of keeping this racetrack in California. Like I said at the beginning of the show, you talk about all the tracks that have closed down, not just in the nation, but in California. For you guys to take over and keep the tradition alive, I really do appreciate that. Before we get you guys out of here, I want to bring up some comments real quick. Kyle Huff, driver of the Nanook Field Alter, now moving to Top Fuel. He says, day or night, doesn't matter when I close my eyes. It's always dark. Love that comment right there. And we actually got Kurt Borden in the chat. He says, as a Reading Drags photographer at Cool April Drags, I was taking winter circle pictures past 3 a.m. Such a great track all night long. And then Kyle Huff goes on to say, can we arm drop race too? So can we do the arm drop sometime?
I mean, we can do absolutely anything. We've got the week after Cool April Drags this year, we have Kelly Chambers coming in with a crazy Kelly no prep race. And we actually moved the starting line 80 feet out for them. They flashlight start. They do cameras at the finish line. Like, I want to do, being that I've got a relationship now with Pilgrim Media and doing some Street Outlaw stuff. Most of that is with Stinky Pinky. I helped tune and crew on that car. I kind of take over those duties when I'm there with him at the racetrack, and that's what I did in Australia. But we got these small tire races being put on by Pilgrim and the Street Outlaw stuff. We got 500 feet of brand new badass asphalt in our shutdown. I would love to start getting some of these small tire guys to come out, and I don't need to put events on or anything, but if they want to start testing at our track, every dollar that comes in the gate helps us cover our bills and keep the gates open. So if I get some of these guys to come do some no prep testing on our asphalt area, I don't want to do any backtrack racing necessarily, but I'm open to the idea of doing absolutely anything you want to do at the facility. We've got the burnout pit, which is kind of designed, like I said, for entertainment. Bryan knows how that was. We had some oil downs last year. Bring in the drift guys. They put on great entertainment while the tractors are on the racetrack. But the sideshow thing has been such a problem in the Bay Area and Southern California, and now it's migrated into Northern California. I want to be able to put on sideshow events where people don't take over intersections and actually put the public at risk. I want them to come to our racetrack, do anything you want, go crazy, burn the tires off, blow the tires up. It doesn't matter. Have fun, do it safely, do it legally, pull your car off the side, put some tires on it, go home. Everybody goes home happy. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
I think that's kind of what Dragstrip started out to be in the first place, right? It was a place for guys to go race their cars instead of on the street, stoplight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what I want to talk about more about in that burnout pit was the bikini contest.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
I was just bummed that I didn't get to be a judge of that last year, but you know, I was pushing real hard for the wet t-shirt contest like they used to do at the Fox Hunt at Sacramento. And I know that's probably not ever going to happen again, but you know, you and me both probably remember those being a kid in the 80s.
Of course I do. And to give a little background to the rest of these guys, at Sac Raceway in the 80s and 90s, they had the wet t-shirt contest in the oval track. Well, the oval track had gates, had nice stadium seating, and it was there, and you could actually regulate who came in and who saw it. I'm sure Bryan and I went in there a few times underage. But
All brothers sponsored one of the first.
Oh, that's right. You're probably backstage.
One of the wet t-shirt contests. I'm gonna throw Uncle Cliff under the bus a little bit here. Grandpa Ray came out to one of the first wet t-shirt contests with a little squirt bottle, and he goes up there on stage on the back of a flatbed and he's squirting. And I think my dad came up with a bucket of water and was like, "Oh, we got to handle this," you know. And yes, Cliff at 8 years old snuck into the changing room where my mom was handling all the girls and got to sit there. And at 8 years old, it was like 78, I think, was about the first one. I wasn't even around yet, but I hear all those stories from Dad and Mom and Uncle Cliff, and I guess it was great back
Bryan, this is a family show, man.
When Dave Smith,
What
I'm
now?
talking about my family.
well, when Dave Smith at Sac Raceway told us that we could kind of bring the name Fox Hunt back to life and take it to Reading, we wanted to at least stick slightly true to its roots, you know. So we ended up doing a bikini contest, and the girls walked on a flatbed trailer, and I had Bodie. We hired in Bodie, and we hired in Disco Dean. Disco Dean and I are great friends. They came and they match raced at the Fox Hunt. So the feature deal there was the Cool April Drags final round, and Dean and Bodie match racing, and the bikini contest. So I had Dean and Bodie judge a bikini contest. It was cool because we had $500 up for the winner. And then Steve Rodenberg, one of our really good track sponsors, Steve comes out and he goes, "Here's another 500. Do something with it." So I ended up giving runner-up money to second place and some semifinal money to the girls because I mean they got up there and they really what do you call it? They put themselves in a vulnerable position around a screaming crowd for no money because it was winner take all. And I ended up giving some round money to the bikini contest girls, and that was great. They had a good time. I think they really appreciated getting a little bit kicked down to them, but it was fun.
Next time I'm gonna call that stinky pinky guy out. I want to run him in the top fuel car. I just don't want to get beat by a damn door car. So I'm a little timid.
I know what nobody else knows, but I know what that car runs, and I tell you what, that'd be a tough race for a nitro car.
Michael doesn't believe me, but those things haul ass. I've seen some time slips from a few of them, and I had to tell him the other day that they put it down. You know, I think we'd have a hard time beating some of those guys for sure.
Awesome.
It's a kick.
Well, hey, Bryan, Jesse, thank you guys for coming on to Kings of the Sport here tonight. We got to move on, but final question for me, Jesse. Well, first off, what's the drive from Inglewood to Reading now? I got to know. How long does it take to drive there for the bikini contest?
What's it take you to get to Sacramento? It takes you 6.5 hours to Sacramento?
So from me to Sonoma, which I've done, is about 6.5 hours. Yeah.
So you're looking at 9 hours to Reading. Okay. But we got an airport on the property and it flies into Southern California.
Okay.
So it takes you 3 hours.
Competition plus at Cool April Drags, baby. That's got to be covered. It's got to be covered.
Hey, Jesse, before we get you out of here, man, just kind of fill us in on all the nitro cars that are slated to be on tap that weekend, from Top Fuel to Funny Car, all that.
I know we got Cecil Matthews, we got Bryan. Man, I didn't go over this list very well. We're still got to talk to Jim. Funny Cars want to do it. The dragsters right now, I don't know what other than Bryan, and Bates will be there as well with the A Fuel car. I'm not sure what the dragsters are doing. I believe Tim Eichstead with the Hitman car is going to come back down from Washington. I heard maybe Boychuk, but I haven't spoke to Boychuk myself. Like I said, I was in Australia, so I missed a lot of those negotiations. I got to get on the phone this week, next week, and kind of finish some stuff up. But right now it looks like maybe 9 or 10 total. Can't name them all off right now. I just don't have the list in front of me.
Gotcha.
The goal is to have an 8-car show. And if we've got 10, if 2 of them want to make a couple of extra match race passes or something, we'll throw some money at them and let them do it. But we want to do an 8-car show on Saturday. That's the goal here.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure
like I said,
Champion Speed Shop's in on that. I talked to Bobby, and
for
I'm
sure.
pretty sure he's in for that. And then us, and then Bates. I think that's the 3 dragsters that I know of that are planning on going right now. We're just hoping that maybe after the show, a couple guys get a little hopped up and maybe want to come out and run.
I like Adam a lot. I'm Bobby too. I'm glad that they came last year, because really, you guys coming, Cecil coming, and them coming, and Jim as well, like, really helped people see that it's not just a place to go. Like, it's going to be a really, really good racetrack, and having Bobby and Adam come out and run good and put on a show and in front of all the crowd and the fans, and the way that the interaction is, that it really helped us a ton. So, whatever money we put out there, we just really appreciate the fact you guys got to come and have a good time and have fun. And that quarter mile of fans coming back down the return road, that's the best right there.
Yes, it is.
For sure. Well, Bryan, thank you as always. And Jesse, man, like I said, thank you for what you're doing. And I'm pretty sure Cool April Nights is going to be a show. Thank you, man.
Will be. Thank you.
All right.
So, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Top Fuel driver Bryan Hall and owner and track manager of Reading Motorsports Park, a.k.a. Reading Dragstrip. How about that, Michael? That was a great conversation.
Yeah, man, that's what I was thinking. I was just like, whenever we talk about, hey, who we should bring on, it just popped in, hey, let's get these guys on there, because, they need to get their info out, man. Really glad that he was able to get on the show and hang out with us.
Well, I mean, so, I love Nitro, right? I love Nitro, love Dragster, love Funny Cars, love Top Fuel. But bikini contests?
Dude,
like,
it doesn't get much better than that.
I guess I got to go now.
Hey, we might need a new video to start off the Kings of the Sport deal,
Really? For real.
Well, let's get this next guy on, see what's going on. I know it's getting late, man. Let's see what's shaking. God almighty, we're talking about that forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Young is next.
Get your CompetitionPlus.com apparel today. Whether it's our nitro-burning funny car design or the vibrant door slammer design, we have the swag to show you are always in the know. Get yourself a hat too. And we know not everyone enjoys wearing a mask, but if you must wear one, at least wear a good-looking one. Check out the new CompetitionPlusApparel.com for the latest from the place where you have trusted for your news on the internet for over 2 decades.
Oh man, he's finally making an appearance on Kings of the Sport. This is a bad man right here, Michael. Jim Young. How's it going, man?
How's it going? Pretty good. How about you guys?
Going great. Michael, I'm gonna let you kick this one off right here, because I know you and Jim have a great relationship. So kick us off, man.
Well, first of all, I want to start with, if you look behind him, that's my set of pistons and rods that's supposed to be in my motor. That for 2 weeks I've been trying to get him to send to me. So hopefully tomorrow they're actually going to head to Texas. So we'll just start with that.
Yep. Rings are gaffed. Everything's ready to go.
So, but no, we've talked about this quite a bit. Jimmy's he's came in and helped me out in the last part of the year, the beginning of this year, with my ride and had some big, long discussions about, if you want to be competitive in this sport, what do you got to actually do? And the first thing he told me was, like, you need to get rid of that Chevrolet, because I think he ran every Chevrolet that you could run before he put his Hemi in. So he's been a real big help, to me and to the class. To multiple of drivers and owners, helping them move and and kind of, you know, understand what goes on with this racing. And if you kind of go back, and Darren, we talked about this earlier, you know, Jimmy's been doing this probably more than half of his life, if you probably go back. And that was one thing we wanted to kind of talk to you, you know, kind of give us your background and what went on and how you got into this.
I've been racing pretty much since '94. My mom used to drive me to the Dragstrip, and I had an El Camino, went in the 10s eventually with that thing. And then around '94, my uncle was a crew chief on Nitro Neal's Top Fuel car, Nostalgia Top Fuel car, and he was kind of an integral part of bringing back the nostalgia movement. And I pretty much started helping those guys in '94. I met Bobby McLennan in '95 at Indy, and decided to build my own car around '99, and I've been running my own car since '99, along with a lot of other cars.
I mean, since you've started driving, you're very accomplished, won a lot of races, championships, a 2-time March meet winner. You know, but something you also do is you help a lot of other drivers in the front engine top fuel class. You really help, you know, help out and give assistance, you know, with that. You know, just talk about how gratifying that is for you to help out other guys in this class. And also, you worry a little bit sometimes that you probably, you know, hire your own assassin when helping out these other guys.
Pretty much, but it's really enjoyable when you see somebody else beat you. I actually raced against Anthony Whitfield, bought the small block Chevy out of my car, and we raced at Cordova, and I had a mishap, and he drove right on past me and made a clean low second run, almost in the 5s, and it was pretty rewarding seeing him. I was smiling ear to ear when he beat me. But just seeing all these guys kind of evolve with the class and making sure they don't tear up all their equipment is kind of what I'm trying to do, because if they go out there and blow everything up in one run, they can't make any more races for the year. That doesn't do the class any good at all.
And you mentioned Anthony Whitfield. So Anthony Whitfield drives the Mighty Mouse fuel
That's
altered
right.
and funny car. Actually went to the final round at Funny Car Chaos a couple weeks ago. Yep. Unfortunately lost in the final round, but a great driver right there. Has driven fuel altered at the March meet. Great driver, Anthony Whitfield.
Yeah, and that's the motor that used to be in this car, actually. So
okay.
There you go. That is solid for them. They went to the, I believe, the March meet or the Hot Rod reunion, and I think the first pass it went 603 or 602 on a 6 flat index. So it's a good running car, no doubt about it. And they do a good job promoting the Nitro Chaos and all that stuff. So
awesome.
So yeah, so you know that Anthony Whitfield, I was standing right next to him whenever he fired up in the final, and so I'm standing there with some other people that know Jimmy and everything, and everybody like hit me in that's Jimmy's old small block right there. Well, I said, well, the last time I seen it, it looked like it was on fire. What are y'all talking about? And they were like, shut the hell up, Michael. So, yeah, probably one of the craziest pictures I've ever seen in a video of a small block blowing up. I think he put Adam to shame on that one whenever that happened. That was a hell of a race, but no, it's been really good, man. You know, talking with Jimmy through stuff, you know, we joke around with each other, you know, I don't know, about every damn day. It's ridiculous. My wife, she gives me shit about it pretty regular that, you know, you're talking to him more than you talk to me kind of deal. But it's and really a lot of the stuff we're talking about is, you know, his series that he started with the group out of the Midwest, and it's, you know, the Extreme Top Fuel series. And within that series, it's a really cool setup because it's not based off of what goes on with, you know, the Heritage Series. It's a whole different deal. You know, whenever you go in and qualify, it's a 2 qualified deal. It averages out, and it kind of goes back like that chip draw and everything. That doesn't mean the number one fastest is going to race the slowest. And so whenever he started talking to me about it, I was like, hell yeah, man. Like, you know, what's kind of your goals and everything? He goes, you know, this is what we're wanting to do. And man, you know, what do you think? And, you know, I was like, man, I'd love to be a part of this deal. And so, you know, this year, the series is going to kick off with the Vandermeer race, which I've been Vandermeer, but the next 2 races are going to be at Norwalk and Martin. And I mean, I don't know if you got to see any of the videos from last year of Darren, but it was some killer racing, man. Like,
I've seen them all.
Yeah, right. Like it's a pretty amazing deal. And like, you know, I think I was in Boise and he's calling me and like, you know, you can see like the picture, you know, you're talking about fans and everything. And he goes, you know, this is just crazy here at these races, what it's like in the Midwest, you know, what these people really like. So for a guy like me that grew up in a little old town in South Texas, to be able to go to one of these places, like, it's an exciting time to go see this. And Jimmy's been a huge part. And hey, man, come on out, come race, man. And all the guys, all the dudes out of the Midwest have been like that, man. It's been really cool. But got to talk a little bit about, what went on with the Extreme Series and what your vision was and kind of how it started out.
So we started running with the pretty much the Heritage Series, and then as the cars in the Midwest started evolving and more cars started coming out, that race, I mean, everybody was paying to get in at that point, and it was extremely expensive. So we decided to go to these tracks with a package and, night under fires and races that are already established, and give them a package deal for, an 8-car Top Fuel show, and where we don't have to pay to get in. We run under the same rules, and all that stays the same. So we're not thinning out the class with a bunch of illegal cars that now can't run in the NHRA series. So it just gives everybody an alternative to run. But the way we do it with the average qualifying time, and then we have a break rule, and there's some other things that we're allowed to work with the class a little bit more on how the structure goes down, so that it becomes a better show for the track. Because at the end of the day, if the track doesn't like the show that you put on, you're not going to be back anyhow. So it comes down to that, and it's been really exciting. And we race at good tracks. Norwalk and Martin, those are 2 great tracks. Denver's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to going out there. I've actually never raced there before. So, and this combination behind me, that's bred for altitude. So I really think we're going to run good out there.
And you mentioned, Martin, Michigan, and obviously you secured Bandimere and Norwalk this year. How huge is that for the class to be racing on such big tracks like that? You talk about the history of Bandimere, the history of Summit Motorsports Park, America's Dragstrip. How big is that for the front engine top fuel class to be racing on that stage at those tracks?
Oh, no, it's huge. Martin, Michigan, they actually have to delay the start time almost every year because they can't get the fans in the gates fast enough to start the show. So, I mean, it's a packed house, and I know Denver's going to be the same way. Norwalk is a great track. That's the Blue Suede Cruise. We actually ran there in 2003. I ended up flipping my car over backwards. So I hold the only record of ever being a car to blow over at like 300 feet. It's a pretty wild picture. And Bill Bailey, every time as I'm ready to start the car up, I'm the only guy to ever do that at that track. So he's a great track owner, and we're really happy to be running with him out there. Custom Floaters just come on board, so we have a points championship fund. It's a $5,000 championship. It's a 3-race series, and we got a lot of people that are looking to help us out with our class. So that's something that it's really hard to do. It's really hard to bring money into NHRA. We've tried to do it with Bowling Green, for 4 years or so, and they kept on moving the goalposts further and further out. So now we're just going to do our own thing. And a lot of people are jumping on board to help us out because they just want to do something different.
With what's going on with this series too, with the guys and that are really tied to it, coming out of the Midwest and stuff like that. But we can't say that, right? Because at Bandimere, it's not going to be like that. At Bandimere, it could be a 50-50, maybe 60-40. There's going to be this East versus West, King of the Mountain whole deal that's going to shake out of this thing, man. You're going to start seeing a bunch of promotion stuff coming out about it, man. We're super excited to have this even happen. And Kevin Rowe and Sporty Bandimere, man, those dudes they're killing it out there. They're super excited about having top fuel cars come race at their track like that, that we have, man, because it just has never happened before. So, and to have Jimmy's experience in this deal, I can't, 1994, dude, I was like 16 years old, and this dude's out, running around, doing top fuel stuff. That's just crazy. Yeah, that's all. I mean, so it's cool to have that backing and know, hey man, this guy right here is whenever he's telling you something, you probably ought to be paying attention to what the hell's going on. Not that I ain't going to sit there and keep poking at him though, because I'm going to poke him, just keep poking him. It's a fun deal, and he's a great guy to be around.
Oh, thanks, I appreciate it. And then running my own car, we've been very successful with this car, and I have no problem sharing what I've learned over the past. And I've had a lot of good help in the past with, figuring this combination out. Frank Owsley, I raced with him for a while. We had a lot of good success. Bobby McLennan, Mike Kern, he's the tuner on Zizzo's car. So he brings a lot of knowledge to to the table, that's for sure. And that's where all this comes from. But trying to spread it out and help everybody else out so they can continue running is really the main goal. That's more gratifying than actually running my own car at this point.
That's awesome. And yeah, like when I've come to these races, I see you going in and out of pits, giving people tips and notes and stuff like that. And even I believe it was Martin, Michigan last year. You raced Mike Taylor in the final. I know you come over and helped him out a lot. So I know you definitely do that. So I've asked this question before, and maybe I'm just trying to blow it up and stuff like that. But if you could chime in on this too, Michael Anderson, is there kind of like a you got AAFD, you got Extreme Top Fuel? Is there like a little hey, I want to beat the other organization, everything like that? Is there something there? Do you ever kind of want to get one over on anybody?
I think there's actually one common goal and one common team out there that everybody, whether it's the East Coast, West Coast, AAFD, or the Extreme Top Fuel Series, there's one team now that everybody wants to beat, and they're pretty much the cancer causer in this class right now. So that gives everybody kind of something to gun for.
I want to beat everybody. I live in Texas, dude. That's I don't even get to say East or West. I'm right here in the middle. But yeah, it's fun to watch. You can watch these dudes whenever they get around each other. There's absolutely a deal that's there that's about I want to beat this side or that side. You'll see it. You're going to see it. It's going to happen at the end of May 20th. It's going to be laid out on what's going to happen. There are going to be some people going to want to turn their stuff up at 9,000 foot of air. You're going to find out who knows how to tune a damn fuel car for damn sure.
Right.
Okay, before we move on, real quick.
We've been.
I think he's going out a little bit.
Keep the rules exactly the same. He's actually taken over Raceway that September race. So we're going to kind of all join together and try to make that as successful as possible. Plus, I'll get another shot at Adam Sorokin. So he beat me last time we were there on a 004 hole shot. So I got some unfinished business with that situation.
Yeah, man. Sorokin can cut a light. He can cut a light. Before we move on, just real quick.
Uh-oh.
Say that one more time, Jimmy. You blanked out. Say that one more time.
In our class, there's no doubt about it.
Definitely. Before we move on, just want to preface by saying something. I don't mind any trash talk on the show, but let's keep it respectful for all the competitors in the show. So
God damn. This show's got to be something else. I guarantee you. But yeah, no, it should be good, man. We're gonna, it's all just poking fun stuff, man. It's all poking fun stuff. So, but yeah, so we're gonna have a lot of stuff coming up. There's gonna be a lot of growth in this class that we do. It's cool to see that there's a couple of different venues you can go to race these cars, and instead of just one setup. So we'll see how it all goes, man. We're gonna go lay it down for sure.
Yeah, we're going to be bringing some cars out for the Nitro Chaos as well in April. There's a couple more cars coming back out from the East Coast. Steve McLean with the big block Chevy, he's bringing that back out. So hopefully we're going to get that car running good and possibly even go to Denver with that. And that's Chris Graves is doing a great job with that whole Nitro Chaos, funny car chaos, and it gives everybody an alternative to NHRA racing where it's a little bit more, racer friendly and it's just more venues that we can run at.
Mm-hmm. Which Nitro Chaos race? Is that the one in Edgewater coming up?
Yep, that's right. Yep.
Awesome. There's some great Nitro cars that are slated for that race. That's gonna be a great race. You got some great cars, great competitors. I'm looking forward to that one right there. What I want to do, Michael, is so the plan is to do Chicago Route 66 in May, and then stay out on the Midwest and then head to Nitro Chaos in Eddyville, I believe, for the Nitro Chaos Funny Car Chaos doubleheader. So that's on the plan for me. We'll see if I can pull it off, though. Should be badass.
That would there's just a lot of racing that's going on out there, and it's really cool to kind of see what's going on. But in the end, there's nothing like 1,320 feet. That's all I can say. Half track racing's all right, but 1,320 feet's where it's at.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So, but yeah, man, it should be a good deal coming up, man. Everything should be good, and you're going to see a lot of cars coming out. It's going to be cool to see all the Midwest cars come out show off what they got. You know, they've been sitting around. Hell, it's still cold as hell up there. You know, so they ought to hopefully they thaw out and make it down in May.
That's right.
And so, Jimmy, like we all know what you're doing for Extreme Top Fuel, and it's a great organization. I love what you guys are doing. Like you said, racing at Martin, racing at Bandimere, racing at Summit Motorsports Park in Norwalk, Ohio, America's Dragstrip. But can we see you in the near future racing in the Heritage Series again? Maybe at the reunion for the doubleheader for March meeting, and obviously the reunion or anything like that, or Bowling Green. Can we see you back in the Heritage Series anytime soon?
No, we won't be at the Bowling Green race, but we plan on going to Tulsa since Bobby McClendon took that race over. We're going to kind of combine efforts and make sure that that's a really successful race as far as car turnout, at least.
Awesome.
And from there on out, depending on how everything goes, the Hot Rod reunion possibly, but I'm out there regardless, helping other cars, and sometimes I'm better off not bringing my car and trying to get some other teams to improve their performance.
Love it. And then, you talk about, and this is why I respect you so much, is, you talk about helping others and, not being afraid to share your secrets and, not want to see anybody struggle and everything like that. Like I said, I respect that a lot. But for you, you're a very accomplished driver. Like I said, I've won a bunch of races, championships, 2 March meet wins. Is there anything in your driving career that kind of stands out to you the most? Maybe it's the win or something like that that's like really special to you?
Yeah, I would say the last time we won Bowling Green was pretty special because that was with this car, and I think I was runner up there at least 7 times. So that race has just slipped through our fingers so many times, and then to finally pull it off with low ET of the event, it was pretty special. And we struggled that weekend, and we finally pulled it all together in the final. It's just kind of a really good race we put together. That, obviously, the March meet wins, I mean, they were all pretty special, but that Bowling Green win pretty much stands out as the top as far as I'm concerned.
That was 2021. We beat Haran in the final, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
There you go. Okay. I was watching that at home. I remember that. There you go.
Flames. I mean, like Bryan was saying, these cars need to be ran at night. And that's why these venues that we go to, we try to run a real tight program to where we can start it at dusk and we finish it off at night. So that the crowd really loves that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Ain't nothing like header flames, baby. Ain't nothing like header flames. Yeah.
So ultimate goals though for Extreme Top Fuel, like I said, we have 4 races right now, and I mentioned them just a second ago. But what's the overall goals, and where would you love to see this organization in the near future? How many races, car counts, just stuff like that?
3 or 4 races is probably about max. You start spreading it out too much like that, then you start really sacrificing the quality of the show. So if we could do 3 really good races with some good sponsors and make them very successful, then that's pretty much about the final goal with this situation. And then also combine it with the Heritage or AAFD or whatever else we plan on doing in the future, or something like Reading. I mean, that's cool that they're putting out another race like that, but maybe combine it with some Nitro Chaos racing, something like that. But we're really trying to just have a good time and make it racer friendly. Unlike, a lot of the NHRA stuff has not been very racer friendly in the past. So that's kind of why everyone else is slipping away from that. And we got to be careful too, because Nitro Chaos is taking some cars away, due to the fact that there's no rules. It allows other cars to slip away from the spirit of our class, which is what we're trying not to do as much as possible. That's why myself and Bobby McClendon are working hard to keep the rules exactly the same and keep all the car counts up.
Gotcha.
Well, I guess, moving forward, everybody needs to come out, see what's going to go on with this Extreme Top Fuel group. Should be, some awesome cars. Everybody ought to enjoy it. Can't say thank you enough to Custom Floaters for being on board and doing what they do. And then everybody else that's going to be tied to it, we'll start putting all that stuff out. But yeah, super excited for the group, man. It ought to be some hellacious racing. Everybody's excited to get their stuff out of the barn.
What's the points like for Extreme Top Fuel? How are we doing the point system? I want to know.
I
remember.
It's like the Heritage will be ran, the same point structure as far as qualifying and eliminations and winner points as well. That seems to work pretty good, so why mess around with it? But just be the 3 races. The average qualifying we do most, like in Martin, there's 3 rounds of qualifying. 2 are mandatory, 1 is optional on Saturday. So Friday night we'll do 2 rounds of qualifying, and we average that time together. So I've went out there, run a 560, and then smoked the tires on the next lap. So I was on the outside looking in. So I had to make that that third run to make it count. It just makes it so puts on a lot better show instead of someone going out there ripping one off and then just, sitting out the rest of the race or sandbagging it. It makes every run count.
I like that.
Yeah.
Adds a little drama to qualifying. I like it.
It looks weird when you're looking at a graph like the average qualifying times, but it makes sense once you really sit down and look at it.
Yeah, for sure. And so final question.
Jimmy? So, one is not always racing 8. It's the fastest car is not always the number one qualifier. It could just be the most consistent car.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Final question for me, Jimmy. And what I want to ask this question because it seems like in front engine top fuel, a lot of these cars, these chassis, and I like the car you have behind you, there's always a backstory with the car. Like, I got this car for such and such, or I got this car for such and such. Kind of give us the backstory of your car right there that's behind you right there.
So this car, myself and Tom Gorney from Care Facilities, he's a chassis builder out of Chicago, built this car in 2007. It was originally set up for the small block Chevy, so it had really small tubing in the front of it. It was only 1 1/8 049 front rail, so it was really flimsy, and it wasn't designed to put the Chrysler in it. So when we went to the Chrysler, I ran it for a few years like that. It was too flexible. So the Bowen's front half this car for me a couple of years ago, and it's been working really well ever since. But I originally wanted to go with the small block, but it just became too expensive to try to fight that battle. Just like what Michael's going through with that big block, it's just at a certain point you need to figure out what you want to do. If you want to go racing, the Chrysler is the way to do it by far. It's easier to work on. You can get parts for it, and it's just much more durable.
Love it.
No, everybody wants to talk shit about the dump truck motor, but in the end, everybody loves the dump truck motor. No. Yeah. Well, all right, man. Well, hey, we appreciate you being on the show, and look forward to everything. And then, I know I'll talk to you again, but I know that we'll probably, maybe once or twice more, at least this year. What we need to have on there, we'll talk about what happened at the races, man.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate you coming on Kings of the Sport, man.
Have a good one.
See you, bud.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Young of the Young Guns, front engine, top fuel dragster. Yo, Michael, 2 great conversations here on Kings of the Sport. You got a little flustered there in the middle of the interview. I was like, oh wow, like
yeah, man. It just we don't. It is what it is. We don't need to go anywhere with all that stuff. But we definitely need to keep it lighthearted where we want to be at. But so. Exciting stuff. I love the conversations, trying to get everybody out here kind of talk about their, what's going on with their programs and, what's going on with their racing. And having Jesse on there was really cool to hear. And then, having Bryan sit there and talk about what happened in that race last year is, super cool, man. I'm excited for those guys. I really, really wish I was racing at that damn race, man. I really wanted to go to that deal. So hopefully, if everything works out, I'll fly out there and go check it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And, speaking of Jimmy Young, one thing, like I said, I've always respected is just, how giving he is to the rest of the class of trying to help out, give tips, share notes. He's not trying to keep secrets. He wants to see everybody do well. And I really do respect him for that. So I'm glad to have him here on the show. And before we get out of here, I want to show some more comments real quick because we had a lot of people chiming in. He says, Jimmy is the reason why we decided to go top fuel racing, says Gary Wheeler. So I want to give a shout out to Gary right there. And then Kevin Rose says, Darren, have you ever been to Bandimere? So no, I've never been to Bandimere. That is on my bucket list. Thunder Mountain. I've always wanted to go there. I know Joe Amato, Tim Richards used to dominate up on the mountain back in the day. So, definitely want to get out to Bandimere at some point. You
need to be there at this race. I'm telling you right now, man, it's going to be just awesomely, crazily fun. It's going to be a good time.
Kurt Borden says, Jim and Michael Anderson's pits for March meet was great to see. So what happened? You got to fill us in.
Oh no, Kurt hung out with us a lot, man. He was over there doing all my GoPro stuff, and he was just in the pit with us a lot, and he got to see what we were doing. Just really trying to work through what was going on with the car and stuff. And those guys like that, I mean, we're just talking through all the problems and making stuff happen. And I mean, before you know it, he's over there got a wrench in his hand, tearing something apart.
Brian Hall says Michael is a fence walker. He's on both sides.
Yeah. Dang. Well, I like it all. The rest of it's just the name. I like everybody.
Rick McGee says Jimmy's a badass, definitely for sure. And then Adam Stoker says Jimmy is responsible for so many good running cars. Respect, definitely right there. And then Timothy says AAFD super fan, yes sir.
So that race that they were talking about in Tulsa, man, like that Jimmy was just bringing up. So they put out a deal with the time slip. Right. And like they start talking, all of a sudden Adam's like, look at this. And Jimmy's like, look at that. And they're like, you remember this race? Then all these pictures. And they were trying to figure out if he went through the lights with his wheels up. Like if they were up, like in the picture, it looks like his front wheels are actually up at the end of the track. And so then they were talking smack back to each other. And I think it's pretty much on for Tulsa. Like it's going to be some serious stuff going on.
I like it. Jordan says, where's that dump truck motor going?
One of them might be leaving this weekend. It's probably going to go into a Funny Car Chaos car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A buddy of mine's got a funny car that he's going to probably put that in and turn it into an alcohol motor.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So it ought to be fun. We'll see what happens.
Awesome.
And then, so here, I wanted to put this out there because I would like to stir up a little stuff because there's a lot of people might be watching this. So last night I'm on the phone BSing with Hall, blah, 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 about what's going on, this, that, and the other, nothing too crazy. And I was like, hey, man, I think we ought to race at Indy. And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, just go race at Indy? Like, we need to have a race at Indy? I was like, no, like, we need to race at Indy, like at the big show. Like, we need to have our cars at the big show. These cars were the beginning of like that kind of racing, right? Like, I was like, they're not there. So, I watched the deal, the Legends deal and all that stuff. I was like, what would it take to get our cars next year to have a race at Indianapolis?
Let's get it going, man. I definitely agree with that. I don't see why it's not there at all. Like, front engine Top Fuel deserves to be at Indy.
I feel like Top Fuel needs to be at the Indy. Like, these cars are the epitome of what like the big show is, man. And it's, I know that they have like a car show, but I mean, to really get them out there and race, that's what I'm talking about, man. I think we need to do it.
What I always go back to, I say this probably on every show, what I always go back to is the 50th anniversary nationals at Pomona, 2001. Who ended the show?
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, the front motor cars, man. It's just
going off at nighttime.
I mean, if we could have a full on, like, let's do it, get the baddest dudes out there that want to show up at that thing and be like, hey, man, these cars right here are, this is what started. And right now, it might even be like a pretty good little old draw. Give Indy a bump on people. Hey, shit, let's run up there and go watch the big show with the front motor Top Fuel cars again.
I like it, man. I like it.
Well, here's the question, so what?
Would you run 1,000 feet like the funny cars, though?
I don't know. That's kind of tough. If it was the foot in the door to do it, like if that was like the deal that, I don't know, what, if that's what the whole holdup would be, I guess, yeah. If that started it, but man, it's 1,320 feet. The last 300 foot's where all the crazy shit happens. So, I don't know. But I'm not saying we want to go race 4 or 5 races like Legends of Nitro and everything. And if I was going to pick an Indy deal, like a whole front motor thing, bam. What's Kevin saying? He's on there talking. He's probably like, what's this guy doing?
You don't have to lift at 1,000 foot. That is true. That is true.
That's exactly right. I guess as long as the time slips show up. But yeah, so totally want to start that deal.
For sure. Kevin Rowe says, Darren, come on out. You can use the media suite to broadcast. So, so basically, Vandermeer and Reading are 2 races I have to go to now this year. Like, I got to.
I don't know how you're missing any of them, really. I mean, you know
what it all comes down to, right?
That's it, baby. That's it. Yeah, I live in that all the time.
Definitely. Michael, any final thoughts, man? Lakers and Clippers are on right now. Playoff spots on the line. Gotta.
But if you want me to give you something about basketball, you asking the wrong dude. You want to talk about football? I'm in. Basketball, I got to ask my wife if that was a foul or not. No, but yeah, man, I know you got stuff to do. but I appreciate it, man. We're going to be excited about what's coming up. Good luck to the Reading race. Hope everything goes good with that. And y'all get ready for Vandermeer, folks. Get your asses out there. Let's put some butts in the seats because these people are they're backing us up heavily on this Vandermeer race. So come on out and watch a good show.
For sure, for sure. Before we get out of here, Brian Hall says, "Go Sacramento Kings." I'm sorry to say, Brian, although Sacramento clinched their first playoff berth in about 16 years, 2006. The Sacramento Kings are going out in the first round. They're going to draw the Lakers first round. They're going out first round. So sorry to say that. But thank you guys all for tuning in to episode 9 of the Kings of the Sport podcast. Thank you to track owner and manager of Reading Motorsports Park, a.k.a. Reading Dragstrip. And thank you to two badasses, Brian Hall and Jimmy Young. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Good night, everybody.
Later, bud.